When we last showed you this video, what FBI Director Kash Patel was doing in it was itself the story. Tonight, it's what he's done since, namely ordering the ouster of at least 10 employees involved in the investigation of the president's alleged mishandling of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. Now, that's according to 4 people briefed on the matter, as is just the latest in a series of such firings of personnel who've investigated the president on January 6 at the Bureau. Now, the president, as you know, was charged with 40 counts, including willful retention of national defense information, conspiracy to obstruct justice. These are some of the documents that were found. 4 months before the 2024 election, this judge, Eileen Cannon, a Trump appointee, dismissed the case. This week, she permanently barred the Justice Department from releasing Special Counsel Jack Smith's final report on his investigation. Joining us now is former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. So Kash Patel, Andrew, is alleging that previous FBI leadership essentially worked in secret to try and evade oversight to subpoena his and Susie Wiles' records. Is that what happened?
No, not at all. It's, there's a question as to whether or not Kash Patel is actively and intentionally misrepresenting the work of the people he just fired and others, or if he just doesn't understand how the FBI works, which I think is also possible. Witnesses in an investigation are very frequently the subject of grand jury subpoenas to access their telephone records, not their actual calls, just the record of who they called at what time on what day and who called them. This is a standard investigative procedure that you do when you're trying to vet a witness from what they're telling you or what testimony they might give. Now, Patel was an obvious witness in the Mar-a-Lago case because he inserted himself into it. He was very active publicly in defending what the president had done, and he concocted this theory that the president had actually declassified all those records before he took them to Mar-a-Lago, which there was no evidence of that ever happening. He was subpoenaed to testify in front of the January 6th committee. And in front of the grand jury investigating Mar-a-Lago. So, the fact that they were looking at his phone records is just a standard investigative technique in a case like this.
In Patel's Senate confirmation hearing, he said, and I quote, "There will be no politicization at the FBI. There will be no retributive actions taken by any FBI should I be confirmed as the FBI director." Does that square with what you've seen today?
Absolutely not. Kash Patel has gone on a campaign of firing people in the FBI or pushing them out, coercing them to resign if they had anything to do with the cases targeting Donald Trump. So he said that to the Senate, but he has done the exact opposite since he's been director of the FBI.
Is it legal? I mean, if this is about retribution, is there any recourse for these agents?
Yeah, sure there is. I mean, it's entirely, I'm not going to say possible, I'm going to say likely that many of these terminations certainly violate FBI and DOJ policy, but possibly even violate the law, violate the civil service protections that all of these employees are entitled to. And I sincerely hope that every one of them files a lawsuit against the FBI and the department in the same way that I did. And I expect if they're willing to go through the years and years of fighting to see that those lawsuits to the end, they'll be rewarded with the benefits and the things that they lost unfairly with these retaliatory terminations. But that's a lot to ask on people who aren't sitting around on piles of money that they can spend on lawyers.
Yeah, and it costs a lot. Andrew McCabe, appreciate it. Thank you. NBC News is reporting that law enforcement is preparing to return Nancy Guthrie's home to her family. They turned it over once before, just days after she was kidnapped, but that changed when investigators released the door camera footage of the suspect and received thousands of new leads in the case. We've also learned that Savannah Guthrie intends to return to the Today Show at some point. CNN's chief media analyst Brian Stelter joins us with more on that. So what more are you learning about Savannah Guthrie's return?
Yeah. It's a significant moment for Savannah and a significant week in this really awful ordeal. When she came out earlier this week and acknowledged for the first time that her mother may be lost, that was the same statement that others have been, thinking about, maybe not wanting to say publicly, not wanting to acknowledge that after nearly a month, this may have a very tragic ending. But I think that statement from Savannah does open the door to her starting to maybe think a little bit about what she does in the future. And I'm told by two sources close to NBC that she does intend to come back to the Today Show at some point. When that might happen is totally uncertain and completely up to her, given this month's agonizing, all-consuming search for her mom. But word of her intentions that she does want to come back to work at some point, it might calm some of the speculation among viewers and frankly among TV news insiders as well. There's been some speculation that she would never come back to work. Hoda Kotb's been filling in while Guthrie is gone, and it's meant a great deal to her to have her former co-host back. But the idea here is that Savannah is starting to think about maybe how to get back to something that might feel a little bit like normal.
Yeah, it's just a horrific situation all